Hey everybody, this is Jork. Welcome back to Portugal and Beyond. I hope you're having a great day. Today's topic is about travel to Europe and 7 travel tips that I think you should be thinking about and using when you're coming over here to Europe. As you know, I'm an American living here in Portugal. I like to talk about all things Portugal as well as our European travels when we do them. So thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. Please tell others to subscribe. That's always helpful. So let's get after it. The most important thing when you're traveling outside of your passport and your reservations and your documentation, money. So let's talk about money. In Europe, most countries use the euro, but not all of them. If you're going to be going to Budapest, to Hungary, they use the forint. If you're going to be going to Prague, the Czech Republic, they use the koruna. If you're going to the UK, it's the pound. Let's say you're going to go to Ireland, but you're going to check out Dublin and Belfast, which is technically Ireland and Northern Ireland. When you're in Ireland and in Dublin, it is the euro. When you're going up to Belfast in Northern Ireland, it's the pound. So you need to have different currencies depending on where you're at. So recommendation is to call your bank and ask them to get some currency. Whatever you're looking to get, have that ordered and have that delivered so that way you can go pick it up before you travel. I will say if you're in a big city, that's easy, or easier. If you're in a small town, that may not be possible. So either way, when you go to the airport in your home country or in a visiting country, they will have little desks where they're doing currency exchanges. You can go there. Sometimes they have low or minimal fees for the exchange. And they have pretty decent rate exchanges as far as what your money is going to get you. So if the currency exchange rate is, let's say, 20% different, you may be getting something at 18 or 17%. It's not as good as 20% different between what you're going to get if you go to your home bank versus one of these kiosks, but it's still a better option. The other thing is if you're out and about, you can go to a bank in a foreign country. You should be able to use your credit card, you have a PIN in it, and withdraw money. So either going into the bank to the teller or going to a bank ATM and doing that. And the reason I'm emphasizing bank ATM is because the last resort, and I would recommend do not do this. Please do not do this. There are thousands of ATMs throughout Europe that are just exchange EMs. Hey, great deal, great rate, no fees. That's all crap. They usually charge exorbitant fees. They give you terrible deals on the exchange rate, and they should never be used, frankly, ever. They're just not. They're not above board in many cases. They're gonna rake you over the coals in fees, and so you'll be very upset and disappointed. So if you can get money ahead of time, super. If not, get it through a bank while you're abroad. So that's number one. That's money. That's the important thing. Now let's talk about plastic money. Number 2, which is credit cards. As you're traveling abroad, if you were to just use your card, you're normally living in, let's say, Minneapolis, and you're going to go to Rome, most likely your card's going to decline. It doesn't matter what card company, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, it will decline because you're in a foreign country and they're not going to recognize that. They're going to think it's suspicious activity. So what I recommend is call all of the credit card companies that you're going to be using before you leave and say, here's where I'm going to be and when I'm going to be there overseas. That way, when you are in Rome getting pizza or buying tickets for the Colosseum or something like that, your card will go through because the credit card company will not look at it as suspicious activity because you've told them you're going to be at Rome from this date to that date. So that's something that's a tip that I think many people find out the hard way, and then they have to try to call an international number to get a hold of their card carrier, their card company, to be able to work it out because their card gets suspended until the transaction gets approved. It becomes a big mess. So number 2, credit cards, put that travel advisory, tell the companies where you're going to be. It will save you some headaches, I guarantee it. So Number three, so the third thing that you got to think about, power supply. Your phone is an essential item these days. It's almost like a body part to many of us. Laptops, tablets, maybe we're taking some other devices. Get a travel adapter, because what's used in North America for current, for sockets and the plug, is different than Europe or the UK. So as you can see from the photo here, it's a different plug. So you want to make sure that you can use all of your devices and they're charged. So what you can do is on Amazon, probably 15 to 20 US dollars, you can get one of these universal adapters that'll fit in several countries and you'll be good to go. Highly recommend them. You can also get them at the airport. So if you don't get them on Amazon, or if you lose it along the way, most stores in different countries will have these generally right at the cashier's desk, right at the register. So number three is power supply. Number four is phone plan. So if you're thinking about things and you're going, okay, so we're going to be taking our phone overseas, of course you are. So what you're going to need it for may not be what you think, not necessarily to call people, but contact your phone company and find out what the options are for either a daily plan or a monthly plan while you're overseas. And they'll get, almost all carriers have some sort of a deal in place for either daily or monthly. If not, you can also at an airport get a SIM card, like a prepaid card or a prepaid phone that'll give you so many minutes and talk, text, data. And where I'm going with this is you may not need to call anybody while you're overseas unless it's an emergency, but you may be texting with somebody. Let's say you're with an entourage or you're with a family and you do one thing one day and somebody does something else. You do two different excursions, but you want to text back and forth. That's more common. But the most common is you're going to be using data with your GPS. We use our phones instead of pull-out maps these days like you used to use. We use our phones for those maps. And it eats up data pretty quickly, so you want to make sure that you have that. So you don't want to get stuck, lost someplace, not sure where to go. So contacting your phone plan, finding out what you can do as far as a daily or monthly price point for international usage, or get a prepaid SIM card or phone when you land wherever you're going to be. So that is phone plan. So along with phone, let's change gears. So you're at the restaurant, you're in Rome, you had your pizza, and it's been a while, and you're wondering why you haven't gotten the bill yet. So number 5 is asking for the bill. So in North America, serving staff, bartenders, waitresses, waiters, things of that, hostesses, they are all working off of tips. That's how they're making their money. In Europe, they're salaried. So they're not waiting or trying to flip tables or churn people at the bar to get more patrons in. Whether you spend 20 minutes eating and drinking or you spend 4 hours at that place, the server could care less. So when you're asking for the bill, you need to make eye contact, wave your hand. I do what's become almost the universal sign of putting both hands up and with one hand looking like I'm writing on a tab or a bill. That lets the waiter know that you want the bill. Or when they're walking by, just say, check please. Otherwise, they're not going to bring it because that's a different culture in Europe. They don't have the get in and get out. You can stay as long as you like. So that's a little bit of a nuance because many times you may be eating, you've had your dessert, it's been 20 minutes and you look at one another or you look at the family going, how come they haven't brought the bill yet? Not realizing that in Europe, they're not going to bring the bill unless you request it. So that's important. Number 5 is asking for the bill. It's a different concept and different thought process than in North America. All right. Along those same lines, number 6, tipping. As I mentioned, the service staff in Europe as well as the UK is salaried. So they get paid a salary plus benefits. tipping in several countries is not a thing, and I'm speaking specifically about restaurants, bartenders, and waiters. Sometimes it is, but you're going to have to Google search where you're going to go, and I would say tipping in France, tipping in Italy, if you're going to those, and read the first 2 or 3 articles. That way you understand what the tipping culture is like. So for example, we just got back from Paris. In France, they add an additional 15% service fee into the food price. It doesn't show up as an extra line item on the bill, so you don't know it unless you know ahead of time and you've done some research that when you get the bill in France, you don't have to tip because they've already added in 15% into the price of the food. So then you just sign and you're not tipping. It's a different concept because in the US, for example, you're used to probably paying 20%, give or take. But in France, you don't have to do that. Italy, there is oftentimes a service fee. So there is a separate line item that shows up on the check as a service charge of some sort. Could be 10, 12, 15%. I believe it's usually 10 or 12% now that I think about that. Some countries don't have any service fee. Some countries, there is an expectation of tipping 5 or 10%. And depending on whether it's the cab, housekeeping, the porter, restaurant, depending on what industry, there may be different limits or different thoughts on tipping. So it's not as universal as what you may get in the US. It's all over the place. So you do need to research what country or countries you're going to go to and what the tipping culture is, so that way you're not offending someone one way or the other by tipping when you don't need to or not tipping when you should be tipping. So that's number 6. And then lastly, safety. Wherever you're going to be, I think situational awareness is important. Anytime you have large crowds, long lines or queues getting into a place, there's always an opportunity for pickpocketing. Subways or metros at rush hour in the morning or in the afternoon when you're kind of crammed in like sardines, things can happen. So a couple of things. For women, I would say have a purse and wear it across your body, so then that way if someone's trying to take your purse, they got to take you along with them as opposed to just over one shoulder. Also, if you're doing a backpack, and this is for men or women, try to use both straps on the backpack as opposed to having it over one shoulder. Sometimes I've gotten in a bad habit of having it just slung over one shoulder and somebody could easily grab it and run. Also, ladies, if you're eating at an outdoor cafe or somewhere along a busy street, I would loop your purse, the strap, underneath one of the chair legs and keep the purse in your lap while you're eating. That way, if someone is trying to walk by and take something, they literally have to pull the chair out from under you because the strap is looped around one of the chair legs. Guys, I would say this, and it's a habit I've gotten into. My phone and my wallet is in a front pocket. Generally, I keep my hand in that pocket when I'm walking around. If I'm holding hands with my wife, I will make sure that all of my stuff is in the same pocket that I'm keeping my hand in. Haven't had any issues, haven't had any problems with pickpocketing. There's never been a situation where we felt like we were even going to be closely associated with being pickpocketed. But we also are aware of our surroundings and where we're walking and where we're eating, so we're pretty cautious about that to begin with. But those are 7 tips that I think are useful for your travel to Europe. More people are traveling. As I had mentioned, we had just spent a week in Paris. There are lots of Americans there, lots of Canadians. People are getting out and finally getting up to traveling again after 2 years of not much of it happening. So let's get after it. Let's go see the world. Thanks as always for watching and have a great day. Hey, thanks so much for watching the full video. If you get a chance, and if you're interested in reading some crazy workplace stories, please check out my two books, Magnet of Madness Volume 1 and Volume 2, both available on Amazon in ebook or softcover. If you want to make fun of me, there's plenty of stories where you can do that. If you want to make yourself feel better about the job that you're in, it'll make you feel better too. But crazy stuff that happened over 30 years, you won't believe it until you read it. So thank you so much for watching. And if you get a chance, pick up a copy of one of these on Amazon. Thank you so much.